He lifted his phone like a spotlight and said, "Can you just calm down? You're embarrassing me." The screen caught the sheen of my eyes, the tremor at my throat, the way the room's soft chatter sharpened around us. I felt my ribs cinch, like a belt pulled to the last hole, and I smiled like I agreed while everything inside me shifted. Before I tell you how that night ended, comment your city, subscribe, and hit the bell. You'll understand why the ending mattered. I came from people who stacked chairs after the party and rinsed the bowls before the dishwasher. I made lists, budgets, and little rituals that turned chaos into something steady. My proudest trait was simple. If I said I'd be there, I was there in time, with a sweater, snacks, and a backup plan in the glove box. Back then, I still believed effort would earn respect. We met in a coffee line on a Tuesday that smelled like rain and espresso. He caught my wallet when it slipped, joked about my library card like it was a relic, and asked me what I was reading with real curiosity. He was bright and kinetic, the kind of person who made the barista laugh and tipped extra for the playlist. When we started dating, he memorized how I'd take my tea and put his phone away when I got animated. He walked a long way home so we could pass a bakery that piped vanilla into the night air. He made ordinary things feel cinematic. We built our life like careful bricklaying. Sunday grocery runs where he pushed the cart while I read the list. Thursday laundry folding with a show humming in the background. Quiet mornings where he'd set out my vitamins next to my coffee mug. He once pressed his cold nose into my neck while I chopped carrots and said, "We're good at this." I was too content to argue. The first shift wasn't explosive. It came muffled through a door. But I didn't mean to stand by. He was on a call in the office, voice pitched into something performative. "No, like, it's real," he said, low and excited. "She panics, sometimes. Super relatable. If I capture it clean, it'll blow. People love authenticity." I pressed my hand against the frame and took one breath to steady it. I placed that moment where I keep things I can't unknow. I didn't confront him. I filed it next to the time he posted a video of our kitchen makeover that was just my Sunday cleaning, and it got more attention than the recipe I tried for 3 hours. He laughed when I brought it up. "It's a cute vibe. People love you." I nodded and made a mental note about the difference between being loved and being used. It is hard to explain a golden period without sounding like you re-pleading with a jury. But the truth is, he could be gentle. He sang badly to me while we did the dishes. He kept a sticky note on his monitor that said, "Ask her day first," and most nights he did. We had a thing about light-keeping lamps low and warm after 7 p.m., candles that smelled like amber and orange peel. There was a jar by the door where we dropped receipts and spare keys, and that clink became our evening soundtrack. I didn't realize how much those quiet rituals would cost later. The tilt came slowly, like a picture frame nudging off level until it bothered me every time I walked by. He started measuring moments by how they'd look on a screen. Our anniversary dinner became content day, with a tripod at the table and captions drafted in his notes app. He borrowed from our emergency fund for a one-time gear upgrade, then rolled his eyes when I reconciled the account. He made jokes that were thinly disguised edits of me. My spreadsheets as punchlines, my rules as quirks to be sanded down for views. It's funny how imbalance hides in everyday chores, until it doesn't. I kept my own notes quietly, dates of charges, screenshots of captions. The night he cut my voice saying, "Please not now," into a clip that framed him as the patient, long-suffering spouse. Not to trap him just, to stay sane. When I suggested boundaries, no filming without consent, no jokes at my expense, he called me controlling. "Everyone posts everything," he said. "It's not that deep." I wasn't trying to be deep. I was trying to be dignified. There were better days. Confusing ones. Movie nights where we paused to talk about plot holes. A weekend trip where we got rained into a cabin that smelled like cedar and damp sweaters, and he fell asleep with his head on my lap. Phone finally dead and out of reach. Those were the days that made the ledger complicated. I wanted to believe in the boy from the coffee line. I wanted to believe you can love someone out of their hunger. His climb online had a sharp incline, the kind that makes your stomach drop on a roller coaster you didn't me on to ride. You'd be surprised how fast a number beside your name can shift a person's sense of self. By the time he hit a milestone, one of those round-count victorious friends packed our place with chatter and wine. The apartment was all garlic and rosemary and that warm, shoe-offy yellow light people. Pick 4 parties. Someone brought a tiny ring light like a joke that wasn't one. I felt thin at the edges before I walked into the kitchen. The noise lifted in waves, and with each wave, my chest tightened. It has a feeling anyone with a nervous system knows, even if they haven't T-named it. The elevator shudder of your stomach, the prickling at the back of your neck, the way you notice the hum of the fridge like it's a siren. I squeezed the counter until my nails left little arcs in the wood. I whispered, 1 second, to him, because I needed air more than I needed a scene. He saw it, of course he saw it. He lifted his phone with the ease of a person checking their watch. "Guys," he said, grinning, still talking to the room. "She gets like this sometimes. It's okay. Look, the lens found me." There is the sound people make when they sense a performance and want to be close to the star. Chairs scraped. Bodhi's angled hush that wasn't respect thickened. "Can you just calm down? You're embarrassing me." He didn't say it like a hiss. He said it like a tagline. Someone laughed too loud. Another offered a half-hearted "babe breathes." Like a chorus, they didn't know the words to. The clicks and chirps of notifications stacked in the silence, and I smiled like I agreed while everything inside me shifted. I didn't argue. I didn't run to the bedroom or ask for the video to be deleted in front of his growing audience. I let the room do what honesty never could. They laughed to finish the sentence I'd been avoiding. I lifted my water with a hand so steady it shocked me, swallowed quietly, and decided to let that silence stay. What came next would not be loud. It would be precise. I didn't sleep long. The apartment exhaled the party faint garlic, someone's cologne. The lemon cleaner I swiped across the counters at midnight hand. I sat at the kitchen table with my laptop and a legal pad. I wrote dates, account numbers. Woo, Eldwat, where the passwords lived. By morning, everything would be exactly where it belonged. I opened a separate checking account and moved my next 2 paychecks before they could be borrowed for content. I exported 6 months of statements and highlighted the purchases he swore weren't on the joint. I changed the password manager and enabled 2-factor on everything with my number. I photographed serial numbers on the camera gear I'd bought, then moved those items to my office before work. The door locks got scheduled for rekeying. The Ring camera got a new admin. I emailed a therapist at 2:17 a.m. with the subject line boundaries. I booked a consult with a family lawyer by 2:34. At sunrise, the apartment turned at that soft blue that makes you feel honest. He shuffled into the kitchen, hair smashed, smashy. Last night, he started the universal opener for pretending a thing was smaller than it was. We were celebrating. You know how you get? I shouldn't. Whatever. I'll edit it nice. I pushed a mug toward him and said, "Don't post it." He laughed, a tiny scoff. "It's already up. It's good for both of us." I let the sentence sit. Then I slid my phone across the table. On the screen was a drafted takedown notice on the basis of unauthorized use of my image in content that depicted a private medical event. Next to it was a cease and desist letter from the attorney paperwork I had paid for with my own card. His pupils flicked like flies. He reached up to rub his jaw and missed his face. Silence can do heavy lifting when you let it. He tried bargaining first. "We can talk about it in a video." Couples do that. It'll clear the air. Then pity. People will think I'm abusive. Do you want that? Then threats dressed as promises. "If you make this a thing, I'll show everyone how you really are." I opened my folder a literal one in cloud storage titled Household and scrolled. Dates, screenshots, captions. Cut to misrepresent my words. A voice memo where he told a friend, "If she cries, it's the thumbnail." I didn't gloat. I didn't even look like I was winning. I just let the facts stand upright. Reality is loud when you can prove it. He posted anyway. Not the full clip, but a softened version that made me look theatrical and him look patient, with calming music and captions about loving someone with big feelings. The comments split in that way they do when people like a story better than a person. His mother called and told me to be a good wife, to stand by him publicly and handle the rest at home. His sister texted a paragraph about reputations. A friend sent me a link for crisis PR. I didn't fight in public. I filed. The lawyer's letter went out with timestamps, and the original audio where he whispered, "This is gonna blow up." To the Chimera, the platform removed the post within a day. A quiet email from a brand he'd been flirting with asked me to confirm whether I'd consented to appear in his ads. I didn't need to editorialize. I answered in one sentence. Two smaller brands backed away on their own. When he sent me a screenshot of an agreement he'd drafted in notes with the heading Mutual Content Release, I forwarded it to my lawyer and replied, "All further communication through counsel." The spin picked up heat. He recorded a shaky video about cancel culture. He hinted at my controlling nature without saying my name, which somehow made people find me faster. A stranger messaged me to say I was ruining a good man's life. Another sent me a list of therapists and a winking emoji. I muted, archived, and kept moving. I documented everything with the same even handwriting I used for our grocery lists. When he showed up at the building with that practiced pout, he rang the buzzer like urgency could melt metal. The new locks turned his key into a useless souvenir. He said, my name like a magic word. It didn't open anything. The doorbell camera caught the moment he realized the perimeter had changed, his face flattening into something honest and small. I didn't post it. I submitted it with a police report as documentation of a boundary he'd already ignored digitally. The office's pen squeaked on the form. On the walk back to the elevator, the hallway smelled like dust and old paint, and for the first time in months, my shoulders weren't at my ears. Friends recalibrated at the speed of evidence. The ones who'd laughed at the party avoided my eyes, and then, quietly, apologized. Two couples admitted he'd deposted their kids without asking and had already asked him to take the posts down. His mom called again and asked if I was happy now. I told her happiness wasn't a party trick. She hung up and texted me a prayer hand emoji. I replied, "Please route future messages to counsel. I never liked being clever, but clean language can be a shelter." Separation wasn't cinematic. It was a color-coded calendar. Appointment to appointment. Box 2 trunk. Keycards returned. My grandmother's ring in a new velvet pouch, tucked into my coat pocket like a private sunrise. He sent plaintive voice notes at 2 a.m. that sounded like the boy from the coffee line, and then rude texts at 2:15. That sounded like the man with a tripod. I answered neither. The day the papers were served, a storm rolled in tight and gray. I brewed tea and watched the rain cut the city into slices, feeling each swallow settle like a small stone in a still pond. Months folded into a year with a softness that surprised me. Peace makes time move differently. I learned how quiet my apartment could be without the buzz of strategizing. I fixed a wobbly table leg by myself and cried because it was wobbly for months, and I kept waiting for help I didn't need. Work got better because I wasn't apologizing for being thorough. I ran by the river before sunrise and learned the habits of birds. I planted basil on the sill. It lived. I kept the lamps low and warm after 7, because that part I had always loved. He didn't evaporate. He posted an apology video with an instrumental piano track and comments limited to followers only. He talked around specifics and thanked people for holding him accountable. He moved into a smaller place with a friend who once told me my boundaries were unreal. He started filming in grocery stores more often, which is the only way I know he eats fruit now. Occasionally, someone sent me his clips, like a dare. I stopped opening them. Indifference is not hatred. It's a clean floor. On a winter afternoon that smelled like cinnamon and wool, I saw him at the market. We both reached for the same crate of oranges and froze in a kindness we didn't TO. He looked thinner. He smiled. That tight one he uses when he thinks he might be recognized. "Hey," he said, voice low, as if the camera might be hiding in the grapefruit. "You look good." I smiled, like I agreed only this time. Nothing inside me shifted. It stayed still, like a table leg I'd tightened with my own hands. He started to apologize, in an open-ended way, like setting out a trampoline and hoping I'd climb on and bounce. I didn't. I nodded once. When he gestured toward the door, toward a conversation that would unspool into old patterns, I stepped aside. He looked down at the oranges, and for a strange moment I remembered his nose pressed into my neck, while carrots clicked on a cutting board. Rituals aren't contracts. He exhaled like he had a speech memorized and nowhere to put it. "You know," he said, and then stalled. We were good content. I'm not the pest you're looking at the deed, I said, not unkind. It's a sentence I didn't plan, landing with the quiet satisfaction of a lid screwing onto a jar. He blinked and laughed once, half surprise, half defeat. I paid for my fruit and left. Outside, the air bit my cheeks. My scarf smelled like the drawer where I keep cedar blocks and old receipts. A text buzzed from a friend asking if I wanted to try a new bakery with lemon tarts she swore were better than my standards. I said yes. My hands were steady on the wheel. The light on the dash was that soft, familiar glow I'd always kept low and warm. The road stretched ahead without a script, and the quiet wasn't empty. It was earned.